Picture yourself standing on a frozen plain, the wind cutting through you like a shard of ice, sharp and relentless. The sky is a heavy gray, promising snow that'll bury the world in silence. Around you, there's nothing but the crunch of frost underfoot and the faint howl of something hungry in the distance. This isn't a scene from some post-apocalyptic movie. It's the world of the Neanderthals, a species of human who faced nature's cruelty head-on and refused to break. Welcome to a story that doesn't just dig up the past, but tears it open, exposing truths that make us question what it means to be human. I'm your guide, an independent historian who chases the shadows of history, the corners academia hesitates to touch and society prefers to ignore. Today we're stepping into the raw, unfiltered life of the Neanderthals, a tale of survival, sacrifice, and secrets carved in bone and ash. Let's freeze this moment, about 130,000 years ago. You're in a cave, the air damp and heavy with smoke. A small band of Neanderthals huddles around a fire, its embers spitting light onto their weathered faces. These aren't faces aged by time, but by a life where every day is a roll of the dice. Their eyes, large and sharp, dart toward the darkness beyond the flames. Outside, the world is a gauntlet. Cave lions with jaws that crush skulls, hyenas stalking in packs, winters so brutal they could stop your heart mid-beat. These people aren't our direct ancestors. They're Homo neanderthalensis, cousins who walked a parallel path. But their story is ours, a mirror reflecting the raw pulse of survival. Forget the caveman stereotypes, hunchbacks, clubs, grunts. Neanderthals were built like powerlifters, standing around 5'5", but packing up to 175 pounds of muscle. Evolution sculpted them for the Ice Age, short, wide bodies to conserve heat, barrel-shaped chests for lungs that pulled oxygen from icy air. Their bones were dense, their shoulders broad enough to drag a mammoth's leg back to camp. Their skin, pale to catch faint sunlight, thick to trap warmth, was likely cloaked in coarse, fur-like hair. Their faces were long, with heavy brows and jaws that could grind raw meat. And their brains? Larger than ours. Not necessarily smarter, but different, wired for vision, spatial awareness, and the kind of physical control that let them wrestle a woolly rhino and walk away. Survival wasn't just about brawn, though. It was about outsmarting a world that wanted you dead. Neanderthals mastered fire, not just for warmth, but to cook meat, harden tools, keep predators at bay. They shaped spears from wooden flint, knives that flayed hide, scrapers that turned bones into tools. They didn't just hide in caves, they built shelters, half-dome tents of mammoth tusks and hides, staked against the wind, and they buried their dead. Pause on that. In a world where every calorie was a fight, they took time to lay their kin in the earth, sometimes with tools or flowers. That's not just ritual. It's a spark of something deeper, a mind grappling with loss and meaning. Their world sprawled from the Atlantic to the Altai Mountains, a brutal landscape of frozen steppes, jagged cliffs, and rare forests. Europe then wasn't green and lush. It was a tundra where moss and lichen fought to survive, where trees were stunted or rotted, where the sun barely warmed the earth. In the worst of the Ice Age, temperatures plunged to minus 30 degrees Celsius. Snow blanketed the land for months, and the wind burned any exposed skin. Food was scarce, hunger a constant shadow. They hunted not just for meat, but for fat, pure energy to keep their bodies burning through the cold. Hides, layered thick, shielded them from frost, and they slept on beds of grass or moss. Their fires never allowed to die. Caves weren't sanctuaries, though. They were damp, moldy, dark with smoke choking the air. Predators could slip in, hyenas, wolves, bears, and wipe out a group in the night. Disease spread fast in tight spaces, and a cut could turn deadly. So they built shelters, staking bones into the ground, draping hides over them, lining floors with whatever kept the cold out. These weren't homes, but lifelines, letting them follow herds, chasing survival instead of waiting for death. Hunting was everything, but it wasn't a hero's tale. Imagine facing a mammoth, 10 times your size, with nothing but a heavy spear. No bows, no distance, just you a flint tip and raw nerve. They got close. Close enough to smell the beast's musk, driving spears into flesh with precision born of desperation. One misstep, and you're crushed or gored. They dug pits, chased prey into swamps, triggered rock slides, all with tools we'd call primitive. But primitive? That's our arrogance. These were craftsmen, shaping flint into razor points, binding them with sinew and resin, turning stones into survival. They wasted nothing. A kill was a gold mine. Meat was eaten fresh, organs consumed on the spot, bones cracked for marrow. Hides became warmth, tendons cordage, bones tools. Blood was collected, drunk, or boiled with meat. When wood ran out, bones fueled fires. When tools broke, they were reshaped. This wasn't just resourcefulness. It was a way of life where every scrap had purpose. But life wasn't all grim. There were glimmers of beauty. Archaeologists find painted stones, ochre, necklaces of teeth. In a world of gray and white, they decorated, claiming their space, saying, "This is ours." They cared for each other, too. Bones with healed fractures show the injured were fed, protected, carried until they could walk. Some lived into their 40s, toothless or lame, because their group refused to let them go. That's not just compassion. It's a bond forged in necessity. Then, there's the darkness. Hunger was constant, and when it struck, they made choices we shudder at. Cannibalism wasn't ritual, it was survival. Human bones bear cut marks, skulls cracked. Femurs burned. Sometimes it was enemies, sometimes their own. We judge, but in their world, a body meant another day under the sun. They died young, most before 30, not from age but from cold, injury, violence. Predators left bite marks on their bones. Rival groups left skulls caved in. Disease turned scratches into death sentences. Children rarely saw 5. Childbirth killed women. Their narrow hips, no match for large-headed babies. Yet they kept going, leaving ash, bone, tools, layers of life buried in time. Now, let's step closer to their daily grind, to the rhythm that kept them alive against all odds. We're not leaving this cave yet. There's more to see in the firelight. The fire crackles, casting flickering shadows on the cave walls as the Neanderthals stir. Dawn is breaking outside, the air sharp enough to sting your lungs, the ground crunching with frost. This camp, maybe 10 or 15 people, is alive with purpose, a fragile bubble of survival in a world that offers none. Inside their shelter, a dome of mammoth bones and hides lashed against the wind. It's not warm or cozy. The floor is dirt, maybe softened with moss, but it's cold, damp, and smoky. The fire never goes out. It can't. Without it, they'd freeze, starve, or fall to the jaws waiting in the dark. This group is a unit, bound not by sentiment but by necessity. Men, women, children, all have roles, not carved in stone but etched by survival's demands. The strongest, often men, but women too, ready for the hunt, checking spears, testing flint tips, tightening sinew. Others, older, injured, stay back, scraping hides, sharpening stones. Children watch, learning by doing, because there's no time for school. You mimic or you die. Hunting is their pulse. No meat, no energy, no fat, no warmth. No raíz, no shelter. They target beasts that sound like legends. Mammoths with tusks longer than a man, woolly rhinos that could smash through rock, bison with horns that slice. These aren't quick kills. Their spears, thick, flint-tipped, are for stabbing, not throwing. They get close, within reach of hooves or tusks, where one mistake means death. Picture the hunt. A group tracks a herd across the steppe, breath fogging, moving silent. Hand signs, low grunts, no words needed. They've done this before, their bodies scarred from practice. One distracts, shouting or waving a hide. Others circle, eyeing the flank, neck, belly. The leader strikes first, spear plunging into muscle. Blood sprays, the beast roars, and it's chaos. Spears sweat, screams until it falls. Then the real race begins. Drag the kill back before hyenas or wolves smell blood. At camp, the carcass sparks a frenzy. Butchering is urgent. Meat spoils fast, predators lurk. Night falls. Knives slice hide, peeled carefully to save every inch. Meat is cut, eaten raw or charred over coals. Bones cracked for marrow, organs, liver, kidneys are shared, some eaten now, some saved. Tendons become cordage, bones tools, blood boiled with meat. Nothing is wasted. The next hunt might fail, and hunger kills without mercy. Life is more than hunting, though it's a war against the world. The steppe is barren, gray rock, white snow, dead soil. Wood is scarce, so bones feed fires when logs run out. Water comes from streams, often frozen, melted over flames. Plants are rare, moss, lichen, maybe berries in brief summers, but never enough. Fat is life, burned to keep warm, making every kill a treasure. Shelters are built with care, near water and game trails, maybe against a cliff to blunt the wind. Bones, tusks, skulls form the frame, hide stretched over, secured with rocks and moss. Inside, a fire pit sits central, ringed with stones to guard the flame. The floor is grass, hides, dirt, whatever keeps cold at bay. It's not a home, but a lifeline, movable when herds shift. Their bonds are iron-tight. No formal leader, but roles emerge. The strong hunt, the skilled craft, the injured watch the young, passing knowledge through action. Women hunt, too, driving game in ambushes. Children learn fast, carrying wood, watching, mimicking. By their teens, they're hunters, bodies already scarred. In rare, quiet moments, beauty emerges. Ochre-stained bones, shell necklaces, etched stones. These aren't tools but defiance, a claim on a hostile world. They cared, too. Healed bones show the injured were fed, protected, carried. Some lived past their prime, toothless or lame. Because their group held on. Darkness looms, though. Hunger drove cannibalism. Not ritual, but survival. Human bones, cut and burned like game, tell of eating enemies or kin to see another dawn. Violence was real, skulls crushed, ribs broken in fights over caves or food. Predators left bite marks, disease turned cuts deadly. Children died young, most before 5. Childbirth was brutal, killing mothers and babies alike. Yet they fought back, using moss as bandages, ash to clean wounds, fat to seal cuts. Some survived amputations, their care a miracle of trial and error. Their bodies were machines, denser bones, stronger muscles, sharper senses. Eyes saw in twilight, noses caught blood or smoke from miles off, ears tuned to distant roars. Every part was built to endure. As the fire burns low, you sense their world shifting, not just the cold, but something new, a shadow on the horizon. Let's step into their minds. See what drove them beyond survival. The fire's glow softens the cave's harsh edges, shadows dancing as the wind howls outside. You're with the Neanderthals, their faces lit by flames, eyes reflecting a world that offers no mercy. This is a rare pause, a moment to breathe before the next hunt, the next storm. Here in the quiet, we glimpse not just their lives, but their minds, what made them human, what pushed them to bury a child or paint a stone when survival demanded everything. Their brains, larger than ours, weren't for philosophy, but for survival, vision, movement, memory. They didn't write or build monuments, but they left traces of a deeper spark. Burials are the clearest sign. Across Europe, bodies lie in graves, placed with care, sometimes with tools, shells, or pollen hinting at flowers. Digging a grave took effort, calories they couldn't spare. Yet they did it as if saying, "This was one of us, and they matter." It's not religion, not as we know it, no idols, no altars, but it's a wrestle with loss, maybe a hope for something beyond the dark. Their art, if we can call it that, tells more. Ochre stains bones and walls, red against the gray. Stones bear etched lines. Shells are pierced for necklaces, eagle claws strung together. These don't feed or warm. They're expressions, a claim on the world. Imagine grinding ochre, smearing on a rock or your skin. It's not vanity. its defiance a shout into the void. I'm here, and I won't be erased. Their tools show this, too. Flint blades, chipped with precision, are almost too perfect, as if the act of making mattered as much as the kill. It's not just utility, it's pride, a need to shape chaos. Their social world was tight, not by choice, but by survival. Groups of 10 to 30 leaned on each other. Every loss a blow to all. Healed bones tell of care. A man with a shattered leg lived because someone fed him. A woman, toothless, survived because someone mashed her food. A child, crippled, reached adulthood because they were carried. This wasn't charity, it was strategy, but also empathy. Every person was a thread in the group's fabric. They communicated, not with our words, but with grunts, gestures, eyes. Picture a hunt. One points, another nods, a third mimics a stab. Their bodies spoke, their memory sharp. They knew every trail, every cave, every water source across vast lands. Elders taught through action, striking flint, tracking deer, skinning hides. Knowledge was life, and losing an elder was losing a map. Fear ruled them, though fear of cold, predators, the unknown. Cannibalism, born of hunger, sometimes felt deliberate, bones processed with care, as if the act held meaning, maybe respect for the dead. Violence scarred their world, skulls crushed, ribs broken in fights over caves or game. Some wounds healed, hinting at uneasy truces. Others killed, proof trust was rare. Their senses shaped their minds. Eyes keen in dusk, noses catching blood miles off, ears tuned to roars or storms. These weren't just tools. They were a window into a world where every scent carried weight. Children were vital, but vulnerable, most dead before 5 from cold, infection, predators. Survivors learned fast, mimicking adults, carrying wood, watching hunts. By their teens, they hunted, scarred already. Women faced childbirth, a deadly gamble with narrow hips and large-headed babies. Many died, their bones found with newborns, buried in shared graves. They fought back with medicine, moss for bleeding, ash for wounds, fat to seal cuts. Some survived amputations, their care a testament to grit. Their world was changing, though. Around 45,000 years ago, new humans, Homo sapiens, arrived, their tools mixing with Neanderthals in caves. Sapiens learned flint tricks. Neanderthals took up needles, ornaments. But contact wasn't kind. Interbreeding left traces, 1 to 2% of our DNA, but it was rare, often violent. Neanderthal women's genes linger more than men's, Y chromosomes nearly gone, hinting at rape or exclusion of hybrids. Sapiens had numbers, better tools, tighter bonds. Neanderthals scattered, couldn't match them. As the fire dims, you feel their world slipping, not just from cold, but from a tide they can't stem. Let's follow their final steps, see where this path ends. The cave feels emptier now, the fire barely holding back the dark. The Neanderthals are fewer, their shelter worn, hides thin, tools chipped from overuse. The step outside is quieter, herds scarcer, the air biting deeper. Something's shifting, and they sense it, even if they can't name it. For 100,000 years, they've outlasted Ice Age's predators. Starvation. But now, around 40,000 years ago, their grip is loosening, their world unraveling. This isn't a single blow, but a slow bleed, a species running out of time. Let's walk their final days and ask, what broke them? What did they leave? Their numbers were always thin, 50,000 to 70,000 across Eurasia, a fragile web stretched over vast lands. Small groups, often alone, meant few mates, few babies, more inbreeding. Their genes show it. Diversity faded, leaving them brittle. Children grew slowly, needing parents who might die in a hunt or storm. Women died in childbirth, infants in winter. A single loss, a hunter, a mother, could get a group. Recovery was agonizing, sometimes impossible. Then came Homo sapiens, around 45,000 years ago, spilling into Europe from the south. Neanderthals were still here, in caves, on steppes, clinging to their world. In places like the Balkans, they shared land, their tools tangled in the same dirt. Sapiens adopted Neanderthal flint blades. Neanderthals took up bone needles, ornaments. But this wasn't friendship. No shared camps, no lasting peace, just fleeting clashes. Interbreeding happened. Most of us carry Neanderthal DNA, but it was rare. Hybrids were few, their genes often fading. Neanderthal Y chromosomes are nearly gone. Male hybrids likely sterile or shunned. Female DNA lingers more, hinting at forced unions, likely rape and raids. Sapiens had numbers, diverse tools, broader diets, fish, shellfish, plants. They spoke, shared knowledge through stories. Neanderthals, with grunts and signs, couldn't keep up. Climate turned traitor, too. Between 45,000 and 30,000 years ago, Europe lurched, warm spells, then brutal colds, all in one lifetime. Forests shrank, steppes spread, herds vanished or moved. Neanderthals, tied to big game, faltered. Their ambushes, pits, rock slides failed when prey was gone. Sapiens, eating anything, going anywhere, thrived where Neanderthals starved. Violence sealed their fate. Skulls with fatal blows, ribs cracked by clubs, marked fights over caves, food, territory. Sapiens, with numbers and sharper weapons, likely won. Some Neanderthals were absorbed, their genes mixing through interbreeding. But most faded. Camps emptied, fires died, bones stopped piling in new layers. By 37,000 years ago, the last holdouts, caves in Gibraltar, went silent. No single killer did it. It was a storm. Low numbers, inbreeding, slow growth, a shifting climate, a rival too strong. Sapiens didn't need to hunt them. Their resilience did the work. Neanderthals couldn't adapt fast enough. Their knowledge, hunting, tools, survival, died with them. An elder's death before teaching a child meant a skill lost. A group's meant a culture erased. By the end, they may have forgotten their own ways, adrift in a world they no longer fit. But they didn't vanish entirely. Their DNA lingers in us, a faint echo of those violent unions. Their tools, graves, painted stones whisper their story. They weren't failures. They survived longer than we've existed, pushing the limits of humanity. As their fires go out, let's sit by the embers and ask what their story means for us. The cave is dark now, the fire reduced to ash. The Neanderthals are gone, their footsteps silent, their tools buried under centuries of dust. We've walked their path, from frozen plains to fading camps, seen their strength, their pain, their spark of humanity. Now, let's linger here by the ghost of their fire and reflect. This isn't just their story, it's ours. A mirror showing who we are, where we came from, and maybe where we're headed. As an independent historian, I chase the truths that sting, the ones that make us squirm. The Neanderthals' tale does that, forcing us to face the raw edges of what it means to be human. Their resilience is the first lesson. They lived in a world that tried to erase them, cold that shattered bones, predators that hunted in the dark, hunger that clawed from within. Yet they endured, crafting tools from scraps, building shelters from bones, caring for their wounded when it meant less for the strong. That's not just survival. It's defiance, a refusal to let the world win. When we face our own battles, loss, fear, chaos, there's something here to hold on to. They had no tech, no safety nets, but they carve a life. Maybe we can find that grit in ourselves. But resilience came at a cost, sacrifice. Their world demanded it. Cannibalism wasn't cruelty. It was a choice to see another dawn. Caring for the injured meant less food for all. Burying the dead stole time from survival. Every act of compassion, every painted stone, was a risk, a bet that meaning mattered more than hunger. We judge from our comfort, but their choices echo ours. When do we give up something for others? When do we hold on to what makes us human, even when it hurts? Their bones don't answer, but they make us ask. Their extinction is a warning. It wasn't a war or a plague, but a slow unraveling. A species outrun by change. Climate shifted, game vanished, and Homo sapiens arrived. More numerous, more adaptable, more connected. Neanderthals, tied to old ways, couldn't keep up. Not because they were weak, but because the game changed. We think our cities, our tech, make us invincible. But what happens when resources fail, when climate turns? When a new force, human or otherwise, rewrites the rules? They didn't see it coming. Will we? Their legacy is more than a caution. They're in us, 1 to 2% of our DNA, a trace of their blood in our veins. Those genes shape us. Immunity, skin, maybe our minds. But their true gift is their humanity. They buried their dead, painted their caves, cared for their weak. They weren't us, but they were close enough to blur the line between human and other. Were they lesser for not writing or building, or greater for finding meaning in a world that offered none? This story is ours because we're the heirs of a messy, brutal, beautiful past. We're not just sapiens, we're the children of struggle that spans millennia. The Neanderthals didn't build empires or write epics, but they left proof that humanity isn't about power. It's about enduring, caring, creating against all odds. Their fires died, but their spark lives in us, in how we fight, love, dream. So, what do we take from this? Maybe it's a call to look at our world, to ask what we're building, what we're breaking. Maybe it's a nudge to care for the weak, to create even when it's hard, to adapt before it's too late. Or maybe it's just a story that makes us feel less alone in a vast, uncaring cosmos. The Neanderthals didn't know we'd remember them, but we do, right here, by their fire. If this journey shook you, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below. What part of their story hit you hardest? What does it make you think about our world today? We've got more shadows to chase, more truths to unearth. Until next time, keep asking the hard questions, because that's what keeps us human.